Hello and welcome to another episode of Rocklaz Radio. This is a show where we discuss inspiring personalities and interesting things. I'm your host Tanmay Shah, an NFT artist, entrepreneur with diverse business experience. This show is self-sponsored, so if you have been seeing this show and if it's adding value, you can check out and buy my NFTs, and you can also become my patron. If you're new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe and share this episode with your friends, and do check out the earlier episodes. You're most welcome to join our weekly Twitter spaces that happen on Saturdays every week, where you will see, it's called NFT for All. Here you'll see amazing artworks. Many collectors come by. We discuss NFT insights. We have music, jokes, and much more. It goes on for 12 hours, so no matter your time zone, you can definitely join in whenever you can. So you can directly talk to me, have any questions, you can discuss there. And see you there then. And for today's show, we have a very special guest. We have with us Lord Truffington, who is a well-known collector and now recently an artist as well, an NFT creator. So Lord Truffington is an entrepreneur and a former institutional investor. Lord Truffington has been active in the NFT space since early 2021. He soon discovered a passion for arts and has been since avidly collecting NFTs from both established as well as emerging artists, with wide range of interests spanning from digital art to photography, and I'm sure you can see his collection when you visit those online galleries that he has created. Lord Truffington's mission has now become to broadly promote crypto art and bring awareness to NFTs, to art world, and beyond. He is an advisor to NFT platforms and marketplaces, NFT projects, and a curator for digital and physical exhibitions. He will also be a speaker at NFT London, which is coming up. I'm very excited to see him in real life there. So, Lord Truffington, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hello. GM, I will say.
GM.
And thank you very much for having me here. It is a pleasure.
So, how do you say in your native? Do you say ciao? I heard you're from Italy.
You say ciao, see, yes, exactly.
Ciao.
Ciao, or you would say buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
The GM is our original Italian GM.
All right. So you definitely must be enjoying a pizza.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm very excited for this because you have been an entrepreneur now into NFTs. And I want to start with a question that my mother asked me to ask you when I was telling her that Lord Truffington is going to be there on the show. So She was like, ask him, why did he leave his stable job and income and come to NFTs?
Oh my goodness. It's a very good question. And it is, believe me, not just your mother, pretty much everyone has been asking me that question for the last 2 years. It's a very interesting story. Let me take you back a little bit. A few years ago, I am a person that loves challenges. That I am definitely a risk taker. I started my career 20 plus years ago in finance, banking, hedge funds, and there, besides I think learning how to work properly, hard and well, you also I think gain an understanding of risk rewards for whatever you get involved with. And I'm not just talking about making an investment where there is a very clear, tangible and measurable outcome and a initial cost, and you can compare those two. But in general, in your life, in everything that you do, there is a cost. There is an opportunity cost, which is what you are not doing by doing what you're actually, engaged with in the moment, and there is a potential outcome in what you are, what you can wish or hope to get in a more or less realistic way. And I've always looked at my life in those terms. So what are my options and what are the outcomes of all the different options? And the stable job, to put it like that, is always one that has a probably the lowest cost, because you ultimately are in a job that is somewhat secure and you get paid a salary that is always the same every month. But it also is one of the options that has the lowest possible outcome or reward at the end. Like, I've always, since I was actually a teenager, I've always looked at, when I do something, in the best case scenario, what do I get from this? And when you have very often a normal stable job, and you put together and you kind of look at that kind of framework, the outcome is that you probably next year you're still going to earn the same money that you're earning now. You're still going to be in a very similar role, and that's it. Not much will have changed professionally or financially, economically, because that's what happens when you are in a stable job. And so I've always tried to take the risks, or the right risks in my head, in my mind, to be able to maximize that potential outcome at the other end. And so again, after 10 plus years in finance, I completely changed careers. I jumped ship. I decided to start a business, a tech startup, and founded a tech business in the recruitment space, and had that for about 6 years. We grew. The company became quite successful. We raised, considerable amount of funds from VCs, institutional investors, and private angels, and then the business started to decline a bit. And when COVID hit, the recruitment space was absolutely annihilated, and so the business had some serious problems. And at the end of 2020, I decided to move on and do something else, and that's when I discovered NFTs. So beginning of 2021, I found this new world, and I saw that this was in my head. It looked like a really good bet to take. And so I went all in, and almost 2 years later, I'm still here, and the market conditions have changed significantly. But we're here fighting every day to bring more awareness and to bring NFTs and crypto art to the masses.
So what made you interested in NFTs? Because there's a whole different crypto market, and now there is NFTs. So
yeah. So I wasn't a crypto bro. I wasn't someone that was in crypto from very early on, and I had knowledge and capital made through crypto to invest. So I'm maybe on those regards, I'm a little bit different. I read an article about NBA Top Shot. That was my beginning, my foray into the NFT world. I read an article about NBA Top Shot, and they were referring to the CryptoKitties, because it's the same companies as Roam and Dapper. And I remember CryptoKitties. I remember reading about them on the paper and talking like the largest majority of people, like, what's wrong with people paying $100,000 for a picture of a cat? Like, there must be something really wrong with these people, or they are just filthy rich and they don't care, they don't understand what they're doing. Obviously, that's the first reaction that you have without actually really knowing more, or without caring to know more, to learn more. And I read about that, and I saw that as a new evolution of the collectible market, but also of the art market. As I started then I did a bit of reading and research and digging a little bit deeper, and I thought that was actually the evolution of what we have, and so I got involved. And then when you get involved, which I always say to everybody, like, how do you start? Well, buy something. Get some skin in the game, because that it will force you to actually really pay attention and really get into the weeds of what's going on. And after I started doing that, the more I read about NFTs and the more I fell in love with them. I fell in love with the long-term applications of NFTs. I consider NFTs basically as a building block. And one NFT is just a technology that is a new-ish application of the blockchain. Blockchain as a technology is fantastic. It's absolutely, it will become ubiquitous. It will be everywhere in 20 years' time. NFTs are an application of the blockchain to a hundreds or 1,000 real-life use cases. And crypto art was something that was very easy to it's very easy to understand and to gain awareness and market share, because it's a simple concept. It's a digital piece of art on the blockchain. If I told you, if I talk to you about having your passport as an NFT, it might be a little bit more difficult to understand how that can develop, etc. You buy a JPEG on a blockchain, it's actually quite simple to understand. And whenever there is a new technology, the simpler things are the one that tend to get adoption first, because they are simple. Exactly because of that, it's a very basic notion of product adoption of technology, new technology adoptions, And I saw, I believe in NFTs as a technology across the board, and also very much in the art environment, in the art world, as a evolution of it's a true digital renaissance.
You're from the investment banking view, and in NFTs there are two kind of things. One is art, and the other one is the collectible projects, which are more like a business and which can be seen more like a stock or a share of a company. So, from your investment background, did you venture in first into collectibles, or did you come directly into the art, or how was the process?
Oh no, I was 100% a trader at the beginning. I got into this world as a trader, and last year I traded everything, from play to earn games to probably a good 80% of all the PFP projects, minting, trading, buy rarities, sell rarities, looking for whatever that opportunity, the trading opportunity, and that was. It was something that I loved. But what happens, as it always happens, is the more you are involved into something, the more you start to learn about that particular thing, and also everything that is adjacent, that is around. And the crypto art, I started on Nifty Gateway, actually. My first piece was a anime by Thomas Schlag. It was a fantastic OG creator, NFT creator, and super talented 3D designer and graphic designer. And it's initially I bought that NFT probably to trade. I read about that project and I was interested. I'm like, this is going to go up, but there are different phases in the project. And actually, I still have it. I haven't traded it. I haven't sold it. The interesting point is, for me, it was very important to get to be able to use my credit cards to buy my NFTs because I wasn't a crypto expert or a crypto native. And so NBA Top Shot first had the non-ramp with the credit card, and then Nifty Gateway. Immediately after I discovered Nifty, and Nifty, I still have my credit cards on Nifty. I still use my credit cards there. And that obviously made a very big difference because it allows everybody to bring to get into this world without having to go through the headaches of setting up a MetaMask, which I've done obviously at some point, but I have to say it's a massive barrier to entry now. But definitely the beginning was trading, then I started to develop the love for the arts.
Wow. So what, do you still do training, or it's completely into art now?
Almost never, almost no trading at all. I do buy some things. I don't trade. I'm selling. So I join some PFP or bigger projects because I know the people, and maybe I buy some and I keep some others. So I try to get liquidity. It's not trading, it's liquidity. It's a way to get some liquidity. It's not actually actual trading. Yeah.
So on this show, we like to know more about the guest that we normally don't get to hear on Twitter Spaces. So can we dive deeper into your life and your backstory of you becoming Lord Truffington? And
yeah. I have to say one day, that's a running joke with all my IRL friends. One day I will have to write a book about the 1,000 lives that I have lived. I've done. I'm a dangerously curious person. I love to learn new things. I love to learn anything. I mean, I read in my spare time books on neuroscience, on evolutionary psychology, on art, on like the most disparate subjects and topics. I love to learn, and I love to dive into things that I don't know anything about and learn them. I see them as a challenge. I've always been like that. I think I took this from my mother, and so I started in investment banking. I was very much a finance boy. Loved it. I was working for a big, one of the top US investment banks.
In London or in Italy? Where were you working?
In London. I've been in London since 2001. Actually, funny story. I came to London 5 days after 9/11.
Oh.
2001. On the 16th of September. On the 16th of September. 5 days after 9/11, and I came here to do an exchange program with my university from Italy. And when 9/11 happened, and I had already been to London in the previous summers to learn English, because in Italy, the English that you learn at school is actually very poor. And that's one of and we don't have English TV, or we didn't have any English TV. So it's one of the reasons why Italians, on average, cannot speak any foreign language, because it's just what it is. And so I used to come to London in the summers to do like random terrible jobs to just be able to be here for a month or two and learn the language. And then when the opportunity came at my university to do an Erasmus, to do an exchange program, there were only 2 spots for the whole university. I really worked so hard to try to get into that, and I got my spot. And then 9/11 happened, and in the following few days, I had quite a few people that called me, and at home, at the time we didn't have mobile phones, right? Just call at home, the home phone, and say, "Oh, we're so sorry that you can't go to London." And I was like, several people. And I'm like, why can't I go to London? Well, I mean, what has happened in New York? I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, they say that London can be next. And I'm like, yeah, maybe, but I don't care. I mean, of course I'm going to London. Like, even if it had already happened, I would still be going to London. Like, I don't care. I will not take the tube. I walk everywhere, but I don't care. There is not even a question in my head as to whether to go or not go. This one, I've always been in love with London. So I came to London, and my passion was always to work in investment banking. It was something since I was a teenager in high school. I wanted to do that for reasons that were completely different than reality. Like, I thought in my head, I thought that the job was something different, and
So what did you think? What was the expectation?
Sorry. It's not the expectation. I was fascinated by mergers and acquisitions, like being there and deciding who needs to buy what, and like, oh, this bank bought this other smaller bank. It's like, I want to be there, and helping and advising. And yeah, I mean, when you join a job in investment bank in that area, what you do most of the time is pie charts and Excel models, and that's it. Like, the strategic thinking, it comes 20 years later. It doesn't come at the beginning. So as a junior analyst, sitting at your desk at 2 a.m, because those are the kind of working hours that you do there every single day. It's you're there creating pie charts and presentations, and it's quite funny. But I loved it, and I was very proud of where I was. And so I started in London, and then because I get I always, like to do new things. So I ended up moving to New York with the same bank in a completely different area. I was on the trading floor. I was actually without going to technical, in a proprietary trading desk. So we were basically trading with the money of the bank, which is a very prestigious job. And it was in New York, in Wall Street. But it was in 2008. So
2008.
Not worked out very well. I got to New York at the end of 2007, and as I got there, I was delayed. I was supposed to be there a few months earlier, but for some technical reasons, I got delayed. And by the time I got to New York, I realized that there was the beginning of a massive crisis. Basically, we would see that it's like a tsunami was about to hit, but the only thing you could see was just at the horizon, you could see this massive wave that was building up. And it's like, oh, this is going to come to us now. So I spent a year in New York, and it was a life experience. I mean, I could write a book about just that year, seen from the inside. And I've very, very interesting life experience. One I would not want to repeat, but still fantastic.
Can you share a story? Can you share a story from that time? Because you are at the epicenter of that event that has gone in history now, the whole year.
I was in the epicenter. Geographically, I was actually in one of the main epicenters of the local epicenters, because I was in this top investment bank at the very top floor of this massive, huge building where the trading floor was.
Would you like to name the bank?
No, I will not name the bank, but it's one of the very big ones. There are 4 or 5, so yeah, one of those. And I was at the very top floor, and on my floor there were probably 2,000 traders. Like, it's quite incredible how many people you can fit in I don't know, maybe not 2,000, no, maybe less. But there were a lot of people, because it's like a
cramped up.
Yeah, very cramped and etc. And you can feel what's going on in the market on the trading floor. Like, in a moment where, there were a few days that were really, really tricky. I mean, apart from after Lehman Brothers went down, there were some moments where, everybody was at risk. Everything was at risk. Actually, people don't even realize how serious what happened in 2008, how serious it was for the world stability. I worked in this space for a long time, and sometimes during that time I got really annoyed at how people on the outside were very easy to cast a judgment on the banks and accusing the banks of a lot of things without understanding what important role these players and these institutions actually play in the market. Like everything that you do is based on the banking system. The reason why they say it's too big to fail, etc., and all, is because they actually are really important for the financial stability. Your ability to go and buy a loaf of bread in the store is because you have a credit card and there is an account that is based on someone's servers. And if there is a problem there, you don't have access to that, you are screwed, not just the bank. So it was a very, very important moment in time, and you could feel the silence. Sometimes there would be almost an artificial silence that would drop. You would have all the screens with Bloomberg's and all the various channels that would talk, but you could hear the traders basically whispering very, very softly, because no one actually even wanted to just say something loud, because people were seriously scared. Incredible. Or when, without going into the details, but when something really big happened that seemed to save the day, that our CEO basically did, and the day after, the CEO came to a meeting on my floor, the CEO of the bank, and as he stepped out of the lifts, the whole floor stood up and gave him a standing ovation. I have goosebumps even now, remembering that moment. It was incredible. Like that is the finance or corporate finance at the highest possible levels. It's difficult to describe, and if I could give more details, maybe it could be a bit easier. But in general, I would say it's when there is one man and one deal that actually manages to create that's a ripple effect that affects the whole economy.
Mm-hmm.
It's really difficult to overestimate the importance of certain things. From the outside, you might not see them. You might, okay, yeah, this is just a deal that someone did. It's just a round of funding that, a company did, and it doesn't matter. But the reality is that it matters massively, because if that hadn't come through and the company had gone down, bankrupt, for instance, the ripple effect, it would have taken down half of the financial system and things like this.
Wow.
So amazing. So that was incredible life experience, very, very hard personally.
You mentioned about the credit card. So just to the viewers,
Yeah.
like imagine our whole data about our bank accounts, all our money is just numbers now. So imagine those servers going down.
There is a very scary thought that we don't really understand. Okay, let me just take a slight side tangent. I had a lot of people telling me, "Oh, but crypto is bullshit," and I'm like, "Why is that?" "Oh, because it's fake money." And I was like, "What does it mean it's fake money?" "Well, it doesn't exist." And I'm like, "Okay, do you actually think that your sterling pounds, your savings, are actually in a physical vault in banknotes at the bank?" They were like, "Oh, no, but they are in a bank account." I'm like, "But the bank account is not real. It's not real. It's actually,
Exactly.
I don't have the data, but I think 10%, probably more, of the global money is actually exists in a cash format." Like, money don't exist either. they are a money. They exist in a digital form, like a cryptocurrency exists in a digital form. There is no difference, and there is a social construct that this money have this unit of money as a certain value, and is accepted internationally that has a certain value. But that's it. Now, the fact that your money don't exist creates a heap of potential problems. Now, when a bank, we had a bank here in the UK called Northern Rock, which went bankrupt in 2007, I think.
Before the crisis.
Sorry?
Before the crisis of 2008.
Just before, it was at the beginning. I think it was 2007, and but it was the beginning, and they, there was a so-called run on the bank, like a bank, a normal commercial bank where every one of us has our money, has only let's say 10%. It's actually a bit less, but 10% of the actual money that they have received from their deposit holders. So what this means is that if tomorrow people want to go to the bank and say, I would like my money back in cash, they will not be able to take anything out. Like, this is something that when I speak to people, this is something that people don't know. Your bank does not have your money. Your bank, if you want to take your money out tomorrow, will not be able to pay you your money. They don't exist in a cash physical form. They do not exist. They do not exist any more than an Ethereum that you can cash out an Ethereum, an ETH. You can't, and you can't cash out your dollars, your euros, your pounds either. Or rather, if you are talking about a very small amount and you're the first one in the line, you can. If you're talking about $50,000 in cash and there are, 10 hours of queue in front of you, no chance.
This had happened once in India also. There was a scam, Nirav Modi scam, and there was a bank involved called PNB Bank. And when the news came out to the market, all the customers of that bank wanted to go and get their money out from the bank. The government had to step in and stop that from happening, and of course bail out the bank and use taxpayers' money for that. But as you said, it's not possible to go and encash your money. And before it used to be backed by gold, so it's not that you're going to give your currency and get some gold or other valuable things also for it.
Technically, I know we don't want to get on probably on talking about the economy, but that's pretty much the same also for central banks. Like the overall, you can't go to the U.S. government and say, "Oh, now we want to get paid all our money back." That's the same thing. It's just we built these sometimes feels like a house of cards or this house of mirrors where it seems there is money here, but there's a mirror, and there's money here and there. And then in reality, probably
it's just credit. Every credit creates some new money. So we are just living in a world of credits.
It's
people lending to each other.
It's if you learn and spend a bit of time actually really thinking about this, there is something fundamentally wrong in our economy and the way that for the last 100 years we have been running our economy. There is something so fundamentally wrong that at some point, when I don't know, let me give an example, the ICOs of 2017, and today you look back, it's only 4 or 5 years later, you look back and say, oh, of course they were all scam. How can you think that all of this money can be created like that? Sure, I agree. In 50 years' time, we look back and of course, the financial system that you had at the end of the 20th century was like bullshit. I mean, come on, how can it be possible, sustainable to go on to sustain an economy just by printing more money and taking more debt. Who the hell is ever going to repay that debt? We are in that stage. I mean, I think that people are starting to realize that. And crypto,
do you think crypto will solve? Yeah, do you think crypto will solve the issue?
I think crypto will be one of the solutions, whether it's the current crypto or an evolution of crypto could be one of the solutions. There are always a lot of issues with decentralization that, decentralization is always fine. But it's something that I don't think we fully understand the decentralization, and we fully appreciate what it really means for everybody. And I am, for instance, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm not a massive fan of DAOs. I don't fully believe in I don't believe in the concept of a DAO where everybody votes on decisions.
Why do you think so?
Everybody has. How rude can I be on this show?
Take it. I mean,
okay.
There's no limit.
The thing is that opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. Okay? Now, the fact that you have an opinion, and this is a problem, this is a really big problem with social media, that social media has created over the last, with Web 2.0. Web 2.0 was, I think, the main change in Web 2.0 was the creation of social media platforms. Social media platforms have given everyone and anyone a voice. Now, what has happened is that this created the false belief that just because you have a voice, you need to use it, number one. And just because you use your voice and you express your thought and your opinion, you have the right to be listened to. Now, this second step is a very, very fundamental flaw of our current society, in my view. So, just because you have an opinion on something, it doesn't mean that opinion is a knowledgeable, expert opinion on that particular topic. So if you don't do brain surgery by consensus. You take a brain surgeon that is trained for 10, 15 years, that has maybe operated for another 10, 15 years, that has a cumulative experience of decades. And if you have to be the patient and you want that person to come there and operate on your brain if they need to remove something or they need to do something, right? You want someone that understands everything that goes on and around and that can do it.
But don't you think choosing government is something like DAO, where not everybody, not the whole population is an expert in political science or knowing affairs of the state, but still they have their opinion and then that counts, and overall, generally the masses tend to choose.
Okay, the government, well, democracy is probably the only example of consensus-driven decision-making. And even, okay, and I think that, I don't remember, it was a French philosopher, I don't remember actually, don't remember who, but they said that democracy is the least of the evils. Democracy is far from perfect. And yeah, I agree. Personally, I would have a kind of reduced number of voters for certain things, but I agree. I agree with that. But what happens in democracy is that you don't take every decision. You vote a representative, and the representative, based on their own expertise and experience, go and vote in parliament in a reduced look, I live in the UK. The UK the UK population was asked to vote in a referendum whether they had to leave the UK, Europe. Okay, it is the biggest cock-up in the history of this country. And we will just realize over time. We are already realizing now, if you're in the UK and you need a nanny, if you need a builder to do some work at home, if you need go to a restaurant, all of these activities or a nurse in hospitals, they relied on foreigners, qualified foreigners coming to the UK and working as builders and nurses, as nannies, as carers, etc., or waiters. Okay. Today, everybody's struggling. So the cost of your home renovation have gone up by 300-400% because there aren't people doing it. And we in the UK, we are paying the result of a very ill-advised referendum. Now, what happened if you look at any corporate level, any corporate in the world, they don't operate as a democracy. And leaving aside the concept of salary disparity between the lowest paid and the highest paid, etc., they don't operate as a democracy primarily because you need a certain level of expertise and experience in certain things. Like what you can see as from your standpoint without the necessary expertise, it could be the right thing, but 9 times out of 10 it's not. So you should not vote on the strategy of the company because you are maybe an admin in the claims department. You just don't have, but it's not a judgment, or you just don't have the view of everything that is going on to be able to take a decision. Like if you are a nurse in the same hospital, you should not comment on how to do the brain surgery because you don't have the expertise to do that.
So don't you think DAOs can evolve and have a better system like the governments where the voters can select a few members who will take the decision or who can be there to run the DAO?
Absolutely.
Doesn't need to be for every single issue you call a voting or referendum, isn't it?
Sure, of course, and I think I don't like the way the DAOs are today, and I don't like. I'm a very pragmatic. I'm incredibly pragmatic, and I don't like the idealistic talks that a lot of people do, saying power to everybody with the DAO, everybody decides everything, because that will never work. Will really never ever work. But there are a lot of structures that are evolving now, and DAOs are a fantastic. They are a fantastic tool and organization. They will become better and better. I'm just saying that today, how the majority of DAOs are organized, they are not. There's always someone calling shots, or or you elect people and then it's still the same 5 guys or 5 people.
It's usually the one who is proposing the DAO he's taking the decisions, isn't it? So have you burnt your fingers in any of the DAO projects, or
no?
You're just away, yeah. Okay.
I haven't. No, I haven't directly. No, I'm aware of a lot of them, but you see, a lot of the DAOs. I've been asked to join a lot of DAOs, and a lot of times what I see, it does not convince me. I'm not. No. So I haven't on that standpoint. I haven't. I don't. Maybe there will be something interesting at some point. And to be fair, I also talk without having such a deep knowledge of all of this. Okay, I just need to admit, it's not that I spent a year looking at DAOs. But every now and then, you just pick up certain things of how, especially when they run new DAOs, I'm like, this is how we're going to run. We have 30 people and we're all going to decide on what we need to do. I'm like, no, you can't. You can't. Like design by consensus or decision by consensus doesn't work.
It takes too much time, first of all, isn't it?
But also, it's not efficient. this. By the way, this was the same problem we were saying about social media. It's just you can have an opinion on everything. It's fine. You are entitled to your opinion, but it doesn't mean that just because you have the opinion is worth anything.
It becomes like a media trial of some case, which is actually supposed to get justice from the courts. Yeah. The media starts deciding what is good, and only the people who make money out of it is the platforms like Twitter and Facebook.
Obviously. No, but in general, I think this created. I've actually seen this even in the workplace. When I had a big team at some point, a big team, I had 35 people working in my team. So it's a team. It's not just a couple of people in a garage. You have a team. You have structure. You have layers. You have different teams with the managers, etc. And sometimes you had like people that would, I don't know, like make comments that juniors that just joined the team, and they would make some comments about why we should do certain things, and I'm like, but like I doesn't the enthusiasm, and I appreciate that you want to contribute. And I'm happy to, for you to comment on this, but
it doesn't work out without the credibility.
Yeah, there is a difference, and you just join out of university and you think we need to go in this direction, and someone that does this as a job and has been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years with advisors that were even more experienced, like, it's not the same level. Like it can't be. It shouldn't be at the same level. Otherwise, what's the point of having any sort of experience? Let's just roll the dice. There will always be someone that will have. There will always be someone that will have a certain opinion about something. So it's random. Becomes random. I think we really went super off the tangent with this topic.
No problem. No, it's okay. This is a free talk just for that. But just to conclude that point, Mr. Ratan Tata, who is now whose company now owns the Jaguar Land Rover of UK, he says you need to be more closer to the younger generation to know the future. To be closer to the future, you need to work with the closer generation. So I think it needs to be a balance of experience as well as new energy and thoughts coming in, isn't it? Because crypto and all these things are very new, isn't it? Somebody who's having 50, 60 years of experience, not 50, 60, 30, 40 or whatever, might not be able to or willing to digest the ideas and take a turn from this, isn't it? Like Warren Buffett, like what are his views on crypto and NFTs?
Negative, very bad.
Exactly.
I agree. I'm not saying. Let me be clear. I am not. I don't want to sound like a Luddite that does not want to, any sort of technological progress. Or I'm far from that. I'm really far from that. What I'm saying is that I think that I think we have entered a state or a phase of our society where we are de-emphasizing the value of experience and expertise.
Okay.
And that is really annoying me. And, it's not sure anyone can, like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't listen to someone young. I mean, my old company, it was about young people, helping young people. So I'm all for that. And I've done it actually for 6 years, but I don't think we can. I think we are discounting too much the value of lived experience and expertise.
No, we do value, that's the reason for doing this podcast and having so experienced people like you coming in. Your experience in life from other fields also helps us in apply those ideas in our current situations or challenges. So that's what was my next question. From your all these years of experience in entrepreneurship, in investing, what are the tips or lessons you would like to share for us to implement now?
About what that is a very, very open
So
question.
let's talk about NFT as an industry.
Hmm. Again, there's a million things that one could say. Like,
Okay, so let me press.
Probably, I would say it's
I'll make it easier for you. You were into investment and returns, right? So tell us about money, how to manage money, and how to invest it in a place so that it gives the best returns.
Okay, so this is even harder to say. No, okay, so first of all, what I want to say, the previous thing was that we are in a very nascent industry, in a space that is very new, and this space to develop and grow and become really mainstream relies on each and every one of us to do our part. We are a movement. We are a new trend. We are a new, fresh way of looking at things, from DAOs to, anything, even just crypto, even though it's 10 years old, it's still relatively new. And it depends on us to evangelize other people and explain with a lot of patience what's happening and why this is worth fighting for. And it depends on each and every one of us. And I love about this space that people, it seems, we live and die on Twitter basically every single day. And we do, if you've been on Twitter outside of the crypto Twitter and NFT Twitter can be a very nasty place. It's actually a platform where there's a lot of trolling, a lot of bullying. It's not always as nice. While I always found that the NFT Twitter is incredibly nice, is a niche that is very pleasant. And that's because we have created a community that is very supportive. Now, we need to extend the support outside of our niche and into the outside world and get all the people that we know, that normies, that's a bit offensive maybe, but all the people that don't know about NFTs and crypto, and bring them in continuously with patience. And do that not for the financial returns, but do that because this is the new future and it relies on us kind of building it. So that's one thing. Things don't just happen on their own or for a reason. You make them happen. You are in control of that. You always are in control of what happens. Sorry, you always are. You have some degree of control of what needs to happen. Now, when it comes to money, and this is something, it's tricky. This market is incredibly volatile. This market is more volatile than anyone could have thought, because honestly, OpenSea volumes at some point on one day, they went down 99% from the peak. Now, you can expect that there is a volatility. You can expect that there is a dump or a drop, a trough in the cycle. I think that almost no one would have expected volumes to go down by 99%. Like, that is actually a really, really big number. And it's you need to be careful, and whatever you invest, you need to invest with the idea or with the awareness that it could, for some reason, it could go to zero. And when I say zero, I don't mean, you sell it, you recover. No, zero. That will never be sold. No one will ever want to buy your NFT, and that's the end of it. You take it, you put it in a burn address, or you put it in a wallet that you're never going to look again, and that will never be worth anything, and that's it. You will have lost 100% of what you put in. So so that's something important that I think it's not,
That would have just scared the normies watching this, or non-crypto natives.
Yeah,
So,
sure, but then I know it's it can go down to I mean, I would say you should think that your currency, whatever you earn, can go down to zero if inflation continues to this level. But no, I mean, look, it's not about scaring, it's about being aware of things. There are at the same time, like, do you ever point to me or tell me about another investment class where you could do 1,000x in a year? Some projects have done, they don't exist. Now, this type of outsized return exists because there is an outsized volatility. Volatility is inherently good for an asset class because it creates opportunities to trade, the opportunities to gain. Obviously, the flip side of the coin is that it also creates opportunities to lose.
On the lower side, yeah.
On the lower side, of course. But ultimately, it is a quite positive, volatility is positive. It's not, everything that is always flat can't grow. So embrace the risk, embrace the volatility, and place your bets. And they are bets at the end. Probably another thing, from my experience that I was saying, I was saying this last year a lot, that a lot of the profits that people made were more driven by luck than by skills or talent. This is something that is it's a psychological bias that we have. We always tend to think that our successes are because of our merits, and other people's successes are because of their luck. Okay, their good fortune. So maybe what I'm saying now could be exactly what part of this bias.
That is amazing code. Let's just repeat that.
It's actually is a mental bias where we attribute our successes to our good skills and talents, and we attribute other people's successes to them having good luck. It tends to be like that, whether it is a sale for an artist, whether it is an athlete, whether it's a colleague at work, whatever. They just got lucky and then they achieved this. However, if you achieve something, it's never because you've been lucky. You just work hard and you've just done everything right, and so you achieved it. So this is a bias that we always have. Now, in the market that we've had last year, the majority of big profits have come from luck for everybody, for me and for anyone else. And when people say it's not true, they are lying to themselves or they're not very aware. So always be grateful for everything that you made or that you will make, because there is always a luck component. Now, there are some skills, like I bought 2 apes within the first month, and I had such a strong conviction on apes. I've been telling my friends to buy apes at 1 ETH, 3 ETH, 5 ETH, 10 ETH, 20 ETH, 20 ETH. I kept telling my friend, look, this is great, just keep buying apes. And then I stopped because they got too expensive for someone new. Fine. But I kept my strong belief and conviction on that, and it paid off a lot. But I had a belief. But at the beginning, buy my ape, when I bought it, that was luck. I mean, sure, I was very convinced that was going to become. I recognized the momentum that they had, and that's what I bet on. But from that point to know everything that happened afterwards to be AYC, that's luck. I mean, nobody could have known back then in May or June 2021 what was going to happen. So that's the luck part, and you always need to go back. Say, why did I take this decision? What was I expecting? If the result is 100 times better than what you were expecting, that's luck. Like that, because you can't control that. You couldn't know that. So always be humble. Always be humble.
So now if somebody wants to know which is going to be the next Board Ape or some project to get into, how would they find that out?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I honestly have no idea, and I would be very skeptical of anyone saying this is the next Board Ape Yacht Club, because we don't. It's really difficult to know these things from the outset. You just can't. You take bets. If you are a venture capital firm. These are the funds that invest in startups. They never say this is the next Uber or this is the next Netflix or Airbnb or whatever. They don't. They make 30 bets, and one of the 20% of them will have outsized return in the portfolio. 20% of them have to have an outsized return for their funds to make sense. They don't know when they invest, they just have, these has good prospects, but it's like investing in NFTs for me in this PFP collection has been the same as a VC. You place your bets where you see a bit more value, and very often value is just based on a few charts and what you hear on Twitter. Are people pumping it? Are people, who is behind it? Who is, which collectors are there? Like, this is what I was doing swing trade. I was doing momentum trading. I was looking at what people were talking about and buying, and when they stopped talking about it, I would sell it. So it was very market and mood driven, as opposed to necessarily fundamentally based on fundamental values, because it's really, really hard today to tell. Now, I will tell you one thing. I think PFP projects will have a very hard time going forward, because that market seems to have that interest of speculators to invest in those assets seems to have dried up at the moment. Same if you create a play to earn a game. Like before, the play to earn games that we have seen in the last 18 months have been based on speculators, and they've been based on someone else will come in afterwards and buy your tokens. Some people
like a pyramid. Pyramid.
Some people might call it a bit Ponzi scheme, Ponzian in nature. It's not entirely wrong, and actually there is an element of that even in crypto, I think. But no, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. Like you obviously rely for the success of something to increase adoption. Like if there isn't this exponential increase in adoption of a particular currency, tokens or something, probably the project will not be successful. Like this is whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whether it's crocodile faces PFP project launching tomorrow. I don't know, random one. Okay, it's the same. So, but the play to earn games that we have seen in the past were really based only on that, because they were not games. They were financial, or they were investment structures. Like there was actually no game. So the next P2E game that will need to come, in my view, to be successful, it will have to be a game, a real game that people want to play. The game, and not because they want to stake these assets that gives them another asset so they can sell to buy another asset and stake it and then make money. That's not a game. That's a financial instrument. Sorry, please, SEC, don't quote me. I don't know anything about financial instruments, so I don't know.
It would have been crazy if Counter-Strike or Dota or those games which actually are being played or are famous came out with their NFTs, isn't it? So
I think one of the big criticisms that gamers have raised to the NFT space is that, they said, and it was exactly this, NFT games are not games. So I play Counter-Strike not to make money because I want to play Counter-Strike. I enjoy playing on Fortnite. So now I am very curious about other sides and what Yuga Labs are doing with their game, because they're building a game. And I think they're building a game in the way you build a game first. And then that'll be everything else. So that's very important. I think it will be a sign. I think Yuga Labs once again has the ability to launch us into the next phase of NFTs, which will not be PFP driven, which will not be P2E driven, which will, for games at least, will be game driven at least.
When I'm talking to non-native cryptos for telling them what is NFT, so this aspect about PFP, I explain to them like a share market or a stock company where you can use PFPs as a way to crowd fund your business and use that actually for your business, and then you can trade it on, or whatever the business makes money you can receive out of this. And just the plus side is it can be done internationally without any government restrictions or norms. So have you seen any projects which are making use of it in this ways, or is it still a potential in the future?
So 100%. I agree. I agree with almost 100% of what you said. Definitely, NFTs and these sort of tokens, PFPs, have become a way for companies to fundraise. The real big problem is that, this is what the SEC is investigating in the US, is that the moment in which you use it for fundraising and you distribute profits of whatever you're going to make, they become a security.
Yeah.
And it is a complete whole bucket of fish. It's completely different. It will absolutely change. Like, you will not be able to do it that easily anymore, because all of a sudden it becomes a financial promotion when you talk about your product. When you talk about when you shill your PFP project, it becomes a financial promotion. You won't be able to do it that easily. Like, it's really not that easy to raise money, to use that to raise money. So you need to use certain platforms that are accredited, where people that buy are accredited as well, etc. So it's incredible. I know that so far that's roughly what it has been, but it's been very, very tricky. Now, let me come though to the question, to your question. I have seen the majority of projects raise money through PFP and do absolutely F all with the funds. And why is that? Because they don't know how to do it. They don't have an idea, because the roadmap was to make t-shirts and hoodies and stickers. And that's, we do merch, yeah, who cares? That's not a business. That's a maybe side benefit. Like, very few companies have actually created a business from the PFP. I think Yuga Labs has done it now. Azuki, very interestingly, Azuki with his, don't remember the name, Beans technology or whatever they are doing now, they are creating this system to link physical assets with NFTs, which is completely unrelated to the Azuki PFP, but they use the funds to fund the business. So that just was announced a week ago or so. So that's what, this is very interesting. I thought very interesting. Now, what is the value of Azuki? I don't know. Is it really like the equivalent of a share in that business? Well, if it is, I'm sure that the SEC will go and knock at the door very, very soon. And it needs to be done in a different way. You can't just give it to someone like that and let a 16-year-old kid buy the Azuki just because they have a MetaMask. But that's true. That's, this, by the way, these all this regulation. I am in favor of regulation for the space, and I'm in favor because regulation is primarily there to protect people. Regulation is not there to kneecap growth, even though sometimes it does that. It obtains a result, which is sad. And unfortunately, I would love our regulators to be a little bit smarter and a little bit more knowledgeable, to listen more to the younger generations. Okay.
To be on Twitter.
Completely. I mean, the Yellen, the president of the ECB, was in an embarrassing conference about 6 months ago, and she was telling, someone was asking her, like, what about your son? Apparently, we heard that your son is into crypto and Bitcoin. They're like, yeah, I'm not really sure what he buys. I hope one day he'll understand and change his mind instead of wasting. It's like, maybe you should listen to your son a little bit more, because you have it in the house with you. It might actually tell you something, that you might not, give you a view that you might not have considered. I don't know. But it's, so I wish the regulators would be more open-minded. However, basic regulation, it is actually important.
There will be a need for international regulations because now it's not just about US or the SEC or the NASDAQ where the companies are traded. It's funds and money of internationally people all around the world being involved in this, right? So
you realize, like, that is so difficult. I mean, even in the EU to promote some laws that are some directives, which are basically suggestions for laws to be incorporated into national laws by the various regulators within the various countries within the EU, which are part of the same kind of organization, if you like. Is incredibly difficult. Do something that works in the US, in Europe, and in India. Oh my God, it will take a long time.
But anyways, it can be a good chance, right? Necessity is mother of innovation. Maybe with systems like this, or maybe with NFTs, they actually start thinking of use cases for having a global laws.
That would not be easy. That would not be easy, especially considering that there are two different. Very different legal systems in the world. That's the common law, the British American legal system that is based on precedents, and there is the what we have. I actually don't remember the technical terms, but what the Romans invented, that was basically a law that is fixed and needs to be interpreted, but it's the law is written, as opposed to made by the judges in the courts, like as we go along, and then used as precedents. And so there are two very different ways of regulating something. So it's tricky.
That's a whole different game and discussion with a lot more people to come in.
It's important. I think the concept of regulation is. Decentralization doesn't mean that anarchy, that we need to have anarchy. Anarchy doesn't work. It doesn't.
Yes. Very excited.
In a global, massive society, it doesn't work.
So very excited to see how this unfolds. So we talked about PFP projects and masses, but now most of your works is now related to art. You're also an artist, and art has been something very steady, like PFP projects going up and down, but there is steady income. I mean, steady process and sales when it comes to regular artists who are just creating digital artwork for the sake of the art itself and selling. So, first of all, how did you get interested in this? Apart, like you were totally into trading and then now into NFTs, which are very illiquid, right? One artist work, you might never know where it is, when it is going to sell, or who's going to buy, or
Yeah. Hence the book about the 1,000 lives of Truff, probably. It's
1,000 lives of Lord Truffington.
There are definitely, I mean, all my friends, people that have known me for whether it's 5 or 25 years, and when I recently, I spoke with a few friends. I'm like, I actually started doing seriously photography, and I sold a photo of mine for actually a considerable amount.
Let me just tell that to the audience. Our dear friend Lord Truffington did a Genesis Art on Super. That's the most premium platform, which he sold for 2.2 Ethereum in auction. That's almost like $3,000. Wow. So big congrats to that. And 100% of that was dedicated to a cancer cause. On top of it, there was another investor who put it equally, like he also put in equal amount, right? To added it to it.
One ETH, yeah. Another very well-known artist who matched 1 ETH, so about $1,300 on top of that for the donation. So we gave a really, I was really proud. We gave a really nice donation to a cancer care charity in Edinburgh, in Scotland, who helps to create a better living arrangement for people that have cancer, in the hope that a more relaxed environment will actually help and assist the healing process, or at least dealing with this illness. So I thought it was very, very nice. And actually, this charity was chosen by Trevor Jones, this great artist, in memory of someone else who passed at the beginning of this year. Was another OG artist called A Lot of Money, and who passed.
Oh my God! I was seeing his NFTs in your profile on Super Air. I didn't know he passed away.
Yeah. He passed in the beginning of March this year, and he passed of cancer very, very, very quickly. From the moment that he discovered he was sick to the moment he passed, it was just a couple of months. It was incredibly quick, so it was a shock for everybody. And so Trevor Jones started this big donation campaign for a cancer care charity, and I've been now the last one to actually do a contribution there. I was saying, as I told my friends that I sold the photo, they were like, "Are you joking? Like, you were the very opposite of what someone might think when they think about an artist." And this is something I've discussed in a lot of spaces, and is I always used to tell myself that I didn't have a creative bone in my body. I think the right thing should have been that I don't have an artistic bone in my body, which is a bit different, because I've actually always done a lot of different things that show some creativity. But ultimately, we all have a narrative that we repeat, a self-narrative. So we have the idea of who we are, and it's something that every time we voice that out loud in our head, or especially out loud for the people, we strengthen the narrative. I am not creative. I am not artistic. I don't know I don't know how to do anything that is artistic. And every time we say it, we convince ourselves that that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be forever thankful to NFTs because beside everything else they've given me already, they help me to discover or to rediscover, to appreciate the part of me that I have always suppressed, that my narrative was telling me that was not there, my creative, my artistic side. So the story, I'll come back to how I came to the art, but let me tell you about this photography. I have always taken photographs, a lot of photographs. Every time I go around, I would take them, whether I had a camera, whether I had my mobile phone. I've always taken a lot of photographs. I was in India, now 10 years ago in 2012. And I was looking at some of the photos I took there. And there are some really good photos. They're not technical because I don't know much or didn't know much about technical photography or, the leading lines or the composition, rules of composition or anything. They were just photos at moments, things that I saw on the street and I would shoot. And actually now, 10 years later, I'm like, well, these were actually good.
Good.
I never appreciated them. I never appreciated that I could see something in the street. I could see some compositions that maybe other people couldn't, or that I never really appreciated. I just said, no, I'm not good at anything that's got to do with art. Art and me are two very different things. And then as I started collecting art, and so I wasn't an art collector in the real life. And then as I started collecting art and NFTs, I started to do curation. So I do now it's post, but I've done for 6 months 2 daily tweets of curation called Truffles. And one is basically I would showcase a piece of art that I like. One is a piece of digital art, and digital art, I mean anything that is not photography. And the other one is a piece of photography NFTs. And I will show these truffles, and I always had a lot of engagement with these posts. People liked what I would show, what I would showcase. They liked the art that I found. And then I put together my on cyber galleries, for instance. Again, I received a lot of good feedback on how the galleries were put together, how the pieces were, the theme of colors, and first of all, the type of art that I bought, but also how they were curated together. And I realized that is also a skill, right? It's also, it's a skill, or is something that I am decent at. And so I decided to actually embrace this part of me, and actually I was fortunate to have a friend in this space who I talked to a lot, and she said, well, she's been into photography for many years, and she said, well, we need to go out there and do some shoots. Just go out there to take photos. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what is going to come out of it. And actually, that's when I took the shot of the Tate. And it's really funny because just before coming here, I had, a very well-known photographer who I admire a lot, just made a post showing a very similar picture. Well, a picture taken in the same place with the same color tones, and say, oh, I hope you inspired yourself with your picture to mine. The reality is that a friend of mine took me there to shoot. I didn't even know that there was a place where people would go and shoot photos. I didn't know. And this is crazy because afterwards, I have actually realized that there are a lot more, there were a lot more shots done in that space, and they had a similar connotation, but that just came from me and my eye, and again, without really knowing what to expect. This is just like 100% the expression of my creativity. And the fact that there's some really big photographer actually says, "Oh, it's great. It looks like my photo." It actually,
Wow.
it's amazing. It's amazing. It's like, okay, like, you know what? Beside, I feel, I feel really great. Like I'm doing something right. It's
Totally.
not knowing if I actually do something that is similar to someone else that is actually that I respect, that is super good. Yeah, that's a good start. And actually, since then, I've been taking. I have so much amazing. I have some really good shots. One of them, I will do my second drop on Sunday on Super Rare, and I can't wait to show this other different style, yet similar. You tell me what you think when you see it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just loved your piece that you had showcased. I'll add a link to that in the description, or let's just open and share it on the screen. Give me a moment.
Which piece?
Just super rare piece that
my photo, yeah, light together.
Yeah, it's open. Let me just do a screen share.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, it's
You see it, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. So that's this is shot at the shot at the Tate Modern, which is the major modern art museum in London, in the UK. Yeah, it's a photo that I love how these two people are here in the middle of the piece, basically with the light, with the leading light going towards outside, and how they are, illuminated. They are in the light. And this is inspired. This is what inspired the title of the piece, which is Light Together.
Wow.
How everything else is basically dark, and these two people are together walking towards the light. And I thought that it was a very apt piece also that it was very apt for this piece to make it also as a charity for a cancer care organization, and to name it like that. And I wrote it was a very little poem, super short, but to express the concept that, even when it's very dark, in the darkest moment in our lives, when we are together, we can still see the light and go towards the light. And I think that the picture is
Wow.
the picture expresses that thought very well.
I just got goosebumps when you're saying that. So yeah, I'll just read the description for everybody. Even in the darkest of times, the warm embrace of togetherness shows us the light. Wow.
And yeah, it's I think it's very representative. I think it all really fits together well. The photo, the title with a little poem, and the fact that then we've given the proceeds to charity, and it's yeah.
Absolutely. Wow, brilliant. And what's the fun fact? Even after you sold it, you got an offer of 2.4.
I know that is actually that was, to be honest, was even more of a surprise than the final price, because I read it, and then maybe Poseidon did not mean it that way, but I see it as a very strong backing of my work and me as an artist by some very big and well-respected collector that basically said, we were willing to buy for more than it was sold for. And it's a standing offer. It's still there, available. Because that is, in my view, that's not an offer for the actual buyer. Like, this is it's not a real offer to buy the piece, because no one would buy 2.2 and sell it at 2.4. The piece that they lose money, right? it's actually just a sign of support.
Absolutely. You got quite a bid war here, and
Oh yeah, there was a big, there were different bid wars at different levels, and it was so exciting to go through that.
we are all thrilled, and we were just tuning in. It was Gandhi Jayanti, the birthday of the Father of Nation, October 2, and you had this going on. It was a thrilling experience. But yeah, as you said, I don't think Poseidon is going to miss your next drop now.
Let's see. You're an artist as well. Well, actually, sorry. Let me. No, as well. I am. This is the first time for me putting myself out there as an artist. So while I consider myself a very empathetic person, so I have empathy. I can understand, or I think I can understand what other people feel in various situations. However, I always thought, sure, you do a piece, and then you do your second piece, your third piece. Every time you publish something, there is a bit of, of anxiety almost. Like it's always a bit scary. I could not expect how much that is. So I've done my first piece, and I was very nervous. I do admit I had a couple of people that already told me they were interested in getting the piece at a significantly lower level. But so I knew that it wasn't going to be, I put it out there and no one will bid, and it's going to stay, the auction is going to end up in after a day with no bids, and the photo stays with me. However, I didn't know how much, if people were going to like it. Also, unfortunately, some people raised some questions about, now collectors are becoming artists. I think it's just the best thing ever. If you have artists that becomes collectors and collectors that become artists, it just makes this community better. It's just we all share the same experiences. I think it's amazing, and so I've done it, and it went really well, and I was incredible. I was buzzing for a week. I was so excited. And now there is a second one. Yeah. Now I am really shitting in my pants because I'm like, okay, what if people don't like it? What if people say, oh, the first one was better? What if collectors don't care? What if it was only because it was for charity? What if it sells for 0.5? All of these things. Oh my God, I'm here. I can't. Sometimes I have to say, right, relax. It's okay. It is fine. It doesn't matter what happens. There's no expectations. But it is so the pressure that we put on each other, on ourselves. Oh my goodness, crazy. And only now, that I'm going through it, I'm actually understanding that is
how nerve-wracking.
Another artist doing the second and the third piece, you put together. What if it's not as good as the previous ones? Oh, now I know.
What if it doesn't sell?
So much. What if it doesn't sell? What if I would really like this big collector to look at my piece. What if they hadn't seen it? Should I send them a DM? Should I say, hey, have you
check this out?
What do you think? Look, I get shilled. I would almost say to people, please stop shilling me the work, because I get 50 plus messages every single day. It is exhausting, and I would like to respond to artists, but I can't. I can't. I mean, physically, I cannot. But also, my advice for artists is build a relationship with a collector, not because you have a piece to sell. That's a bit late. And if you send me a piece of art and you say, what do you think? What do you want me to respond? There is actually no response that is remotely useful to you as an artist. So you got to frame it in a different way. You got to just find a way to extract value from the conversation in a different way. But for me, I'm not.
For example,
Well, I'll tell you what I've done with a lot of people. I have shared my picture. I'm learning. I'm still learning. So I'm fortunate enough to have built relationship with some fantastic top-end photographers. And I share my piece and I say, how can I make it better? What would you change? Do you have suggestions on the composition, on the editing, on the light, on the light curve? How would I, what should I do? And I get very specific, actionable feedback on the piece. And by the way, I don't ask, yeah, sure, I can ask anyone that, but in my case, I want to ask a professional photographer that's been doing it for 20 years and that knows these things. Indeed, if I just put something on Twitter, people will say, oh, I like it. It's the emotional reaction. I actually want the technical reaction as well to the piece. And in general, just build relationships with people. Build a relationship with people before you need something from them. And it's, this is, maybe it's a personality thing. I've always been a big network builders. I've always done it a lot. Not because I need something from people, but actually thinking that one day I might need something from people. One day I might actually need something from people, and so I want to have a good relationship with them. And the relationship, the moment in which I don't have anything to ask you, what I do is, what can I give to you today? When I was in the startup world, I used to meet people, and I would always used to ask, how can I help you? Like, really, not how can I help you here today? What can I do for you? And that's how you build relationship. And there is as an artist, I get approached as a collector. I get approached by artists so many times. And I always feel that, like, I understand now, being an artist, or having been in a position where I had to sell my piece, I understand it a bit. But you always need to think, why should that person do what you ask them to do? Why? You need to understand that people have incentives. People have, and I get that because I have a very engaged social media profile, especially on Twitter. But actually, I have an Instagram account that I started 3 months ago. It's very new. I have about 2,000 followers. However, I did a story yesterday and I had 600 views of a story with a 2,000 people followers base. Like, I actually don't think that many accounts have that kind of conversion of engagement over the number of followers. So even though it's small, it's super engaged. The same is on Twitter. I have a lot of engagement. Now, when you ask me, can you do a retweet? Now, you are the 100th person today that asked me for a retweet. And the question is, why should I do it? Like, you just, as an artist, you're there, you just ask, you continually ask, what are you actually doing for a collector? Are you, have you ever shown me like, oh, this is a friend of mine? No, this is a friend of mine. This is a piece of art that I found that is absolutely amazing. I don't know the artist, but the art is amazing. I don't have the funds to buy it, but you might. So have you looked at this?
Wow.
In that moment, you're adding value to me. Otherwise, like, and there are some people that I've been doing that. No, there are some people that have been just asking me things. And after a while, I stop engaging because I'm not a retweeting machine. Sorry. My tweets, my time is actually, it's quite important. There's got an opportunity cost. If I retweet your stuff, it's probably I don't retweet something else because I don't want to retweet 1,000 tweets a day. It's no real point. So always think, okay, why should someone do it? What are you doing for them? So I build relationship based on that.
I want to quickly say, when you're doing Twitter Spaces, artists ask us what do collectors think? How do they think? So we are always like, you start collecting, and when you become a collector, you'll know how collectors
Oh,
think. And
absolutely.
then, as you mentioned, what artists go through, a collector needs to become an artist. So
Absolutely, absolutely. I've been saying this. Oh, look, I've been advising. I've been advising artists for a year now. At usually new artists or more emerging artists and less very established artists. But I actually talk to a lot of big artists as well, big artists that have really big sales already. And and I'm saying to everybody, you need to collect as well, to the extent that your finances allow you, but you should collect as well. And why do you have to collect? Is because it will give you the understanding of the market from the other side, which is something that is really missing. It's not common that artists understand that part of the market. And the only way to do it is to buy. And by the way, don't buy art from your friends. That's not collecting. That's a friendship gesture or charity to your friends. Like this is not real collecting. You need to collect something because you think it's going to go up in price because you like it and because you think it's a good investment. Start to see why would this be a good investment versus the other piece, and start doing that mental conversation in your head. Start having that debate every single day, and that will make you a lot better. That will teach you how to look at the market, and when you do your next drop, you will know you will have already some answers. That's my advice. I'm giving it to everybody. I'm always
absolutely. That is a very cool point, because what we see when there are no collectors, it's mostly artists collecting from other artists, and as you mentioned, it's usually the friends who are they supporting, and that's happening. That's a cool point you mentioned.
That doesn't count. But that doesn't count. If you buy something just to support the artist for the sake of it, it's great. By the way, I've done a lot of it. It's great. I've done a lot of it, but that's very different. Like try to invest, try to collect some art that you think is going to go up in price.
For me, I've never looked at NFTs as they might actually sell or they might go up in price. I don't know. It doesn't, when I'm collecting, like we have doing spaces for 8 months now, 12 hours every week on Saturdays. We see a lot of artists. I go through many other spaces also. I've collected, but I never really had this thought in mind, okay, this is going to go up in price. That's why I need to buy. So
let me ask you though, okay. Let me ask you though something. If I show you a piece, if I show you an NFT, is that NFT worth 0.01, 0.1, 1 ETH, 10 ETH, 100 ETH? How would you know? How do you know how much is that worth? How do you, it is not possible.
By looking at the price, what the artist has put, that's number one thing. Like you see this, likes, this is good. Like then go to the price what artist has set. That's it. But if you just show the image, it would be very difficult to.
Oh, it's impossible. It's impossible. I can show you a physical painting, and you wouldn't know if it's worth $10 or $10 million. You actually literally cannot, because the art in itself, it's. Some people might disagree with that. I had some conversation with some really big, like real life artists that had something to say about this. But in general, the art in itself is not what gives value to the piece. It's the artist, the story. Well, really, is the artist and the story and the narrative that goes with it. That's really the main value. But for NFTs is the same. But when you look at something, there are always supply and demand and market considerations that you need to make. Even if you don't invest for it to go up, money is fungible, but money is also incredibly limited. So your capital is limited. The largest majority, not for everybody, but the largest majority of people, money is limited. So if you have 1 ETH and you want to invest and you want to buy art with 1 ETH, if you go on Tezos, you can buy 1 million pieces, 1,000 pieces. Something amazing, brilliant. Okay, or you can buy 1 piece on Super Rare for 1 ETH, and you can decide. Like, how do you decide? There's got to be more than just say I like what I see, because you can spend your life just looking at art and NFTs. There's so many every day just be minted. There needs to be other considerations, whether you look at it as an investment or not. Those investment considerations still come into play.
Eventually.
Yeah. Now, while if your mate is an artist and says, "Oh, I've got this thing, this edition at 0.02, can you buy it?" and you buy it, that is not you don't look at anything. You know the person. You just buy something because he's your mate. It's very, very, very different than buying from an artist you don't know.
So you mentioned a very good point about art being shown and not being able to say what value it is unless you know the story or unless you know the artist.
Right.
So that aspect about artist or building a story around your brand, what are your tips for artists listening to this? How do you go and establish yourself, and how do you build that brand and story that would eventually give higher returns to your collectors on your art?
Look, I have the mantra that I've been repeating to artists since day one is your art is your product. Like any product in the world, you need to market your product in order to sell it. There is not a company in the world that produces a product and doesn't market that product. Coca-Cola is the biggest brand in the world, and they still spend billions every year in marketing and branding. That's it. That should tell you everything. You cannot afford to create something and not market it. Whatever form that takes. In the traditional art world, those are galleries, curators, but primarily galleries. As an artist, you have a gallery that markets it for you. And you pay the gallery, by the way, a lot to do the work. In the NFT, we have so far disintermediated the process. So you are now the artist with your art, and you have the collectors here. Now, there's no gallery in the middle. There are some platforms which are usually pretty poor at doing marketing, at least today. I think it was different in the beginning. So you need to do the marketing of your product to your potential collectors and people that are interested. There is no way around it. Your art does not speak for yourself. Now, let me be very clear here, because I had some pushback in the past, and I think because I have been misunderstood.
Yeah, because many people say that art should be something that should tell its story itself.
Sure. Let me do the clarification. All of this that I've just said is if you want to sell your art. If you want to create art for your personal artistic passion and want to keep it on your walls and have a warehouse full of 1,000 paintings, that's amazing. I mean, I admire you and I envy you. It's amazing. Now, if you want to sell your art and make a living as an artist, have the art as your job, and by job I mean the thing that provides sustenance and money to live. If you want that, there is only one way to go, and it's doing branding and marketing. You cannot produce your art for the sake of it and expect people to buy it. They will not buy it. And probably I would almost say, why should I? It's yeah, I can buy something and I will. And I've bought a lot of things just because I like the look of that. Perfect. But it's an occasional buy. It's not, if you want to engage like a big collector, if you want to build your brand and build your prices and actually become more established, you need to brand yourself. You need to create a brand around your name and you need to market yourself. Unfortunately, that's a law of, but that's like, it's normal. There are probably 1,000 artists for each collector that is out there, probably more. When you create something, it's just out there lost in the ether.
How is the main question?
How? Yeah, how is a tough question. I would say, in today's world, Twitter, in today's world, Twitter is still the main platform. And Twitter is a grinding game. By grinding game, I mean that the more time you put into Twitter, the more you're going to get out of Twitter. I spent 10 hours a day on Twitter for a year, probably. It's just grind on Twitter. Find out who they are, who the collectors are. Find out who the catalysts in the space are, who are the people that can amplify your message, and try to get more followers and more, not just followers, but more engagement. And try to get, now obviously your art needs to be good. Let me be clear. The starting point is that your art is good. Okay, that's the starting point. And by the way, art. Okay, sorry, that's not fair. That's not fair. Art can appeal to different people. Different art can appeal to different people. So you need to find the people that connect with your art. That's the important thing. Give you a very practical example. If you are a photographer, there's no point in really trying to engage collectors that have never bought a photography NFT, because they might not care or believe in photography NFTs, so they're not the right collectors. So, look with the other collectors and really spend time engaging with these people, with the community. And also, we said earlier, trying to add value. How do you grow your brand? Add value, express your thoughts in an informative and useful way, support other people. Someone, I don't know, was Gigacha Pepe or someone very recently that did a post, I don't remember who it was, someone else maybe, but they did a post that said, oh, you can't make a sale? Fine, help another artist to make a sale. Help another artist to make a sale. Have you ever done it? Have you ever, not you, but in general, you focus always on me, sell, look at my art, look at my art. I love when I haven't done it now for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks probably. I used to do my art shares and I used to have 1,500 responses. 90% were people promoting their own art. And then maybe 10% were people promoting other people's art. It's a stronger message when you promote someone else's art. Try to do it. See what happens.
Absolutely.
Help, support, and you will receive help and support. No? Technical issues?
1 second, my headphone went out of battery. I'm just switching to my other speaker.
Of course.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was saying I had one suggestion. That was one of the thought that I wanted to discuss with you. I've been through your amazing wiki of NFT collectors, art collectors that you have maintained. We'll talk about that. But just just in follow up with your thought about approaching collectors according to your art style, who would be interested in your style. So this is a quick suggestion: if that wiki can be modified further to categorize collectors depending on what kind of art they like.
Yes, look, that's a good point. I think that since there aren't that many, I think that artists should do their work and their due diligence independently from what the NFT Collectors Wiki website says. Also, there are, depending on your at which level you sell your prices and at what prices you sell your pieces. There are a lot of other collectors that are not in the list that could still be an option. Like, if you sell for 10 ETH, probably you have a very small pool of collectors to engage with. Very, very small, actually. Unfortunately, they are incredibly small, and that's a big concern for me. For the market, obviously. If you sell at 0.1 ETH a piece, you have a significantly larger pool of people to engage. So you need to understand your market positioning. You need to understand who are the people that buy your level. A Cosimo Medici doesn't buy at 0.1, so that's not the right collector to engage. And vice versa, if you sell at 10 ETH, you need to engage with Cosimo and you don't need to engage with someone that buys at 0.1. So look, you gotta treat your art creation as a business. And people, there is always this separation of art and business as being like, the devil and the holy water, and they just don't go together. They do, because business is not a bad thing. Business is just being smart about what you're doing and doing in a way that creates a revenue income, a stream of revenues of income for you that as an artist that wants to live doing the art, it's quite necessary. Otherwise it's an hobby, which is fine, but it's different.
It was an incredible tip about Medici. Don't shill him 0.1. It's not for that. So the same kind of effects that you have observed so many collectors can be made a business out of. You already have a wiki, so it could be a step further. Could be where, like in what range, what price range, what collectors are playing, or if this is a photography based, or if this is an abstract collector, or the animated 3D artist, or so on. Okay. Artists wouldn't mind paying for it.
So the NFT Collectors Wiki is the first step of a platform that I'm building. That pretty much does what you're saying now. It's a bit different, that the angle is a little bit different. But I have been working for about 6 months on a platform, on an art discovery platform. And the first step was the alpha of the product was to create this website. This is why we're not really tweaking too much about the platform, because there will be another platform in another domain with another name that will do a bit of everything. Actually, there is a tiny, tiny little Easter egg in that website that at least has the name of the new platform, but it's a tiny, tiny little thing. And the main point of the new platform and also of that NFT wiki at the beginning was, however, not to help artists as much, but was to get more collectors that are on the sidelines to get in and invest with more confidence. Because right now, the real problem in the market, if you look at it from a market standpoint, the real problem is not that artists cannot sell, meaning collectors are still buying what they want to buy. They might buy artist A instead of artist B or artist C, but they're still buying. The problem is that there aren't enough collectors.
Absolutely.
So the real issue, the real thing that we need to change the real problem to fix is how do we get more collectors to find art that they love and to actually confidently buy it. That is the problem in the market. Not that you can't sell your piece. That you can't sell your piece is a consequence. So if I give you as an artist a better way to discover collectors, and everybody has the tool, we are all in the same situation. You're just going to be smarter in how you look for your collectors, but nothing changes. We need to bring more capital and more collectors. Yeah. So the idea of the platform will actually be to help to bring more collectors and to make them confidently make buys of art, make them buy art. And then, of course, that in turn will help directly the artist, obviously.
So this could actually be a feature for the collectors also, right? They fill up a form, they say what kind of, you show them 3-4 artworks, you get to know a taste of what kind of they are liking. Yeah. And then the artist also can reach out, see this is the work that you have showed interest in and you might like this.
Yeah.
Something like that. It might be this in your price range.
We're building it. It's going, unfortunately, incredibly slow because we are not full-time on the project. But we've been working on it. My CTO and I are actually building this platform that I don't want to say when it will be ready because I don't know. Some point next year. But it's but the idea is that. And again, as I said, regardless of whether it's my project or another project or how we do it, what we need to all collectively focus on is bringing more capital. More collectors. The problem is not the art. The problem is that there are, probably one collector for each 1,000 artists, I want to say, might be actually a lot bigger, the number. Active collectors that actually buy with a certain, consistency. Because if someone buys 3 pieces and then disappears,
I have a question. You're a collector. You see tracking so many collectors.
Yeah,
it makes sense for artists to create art and to sell. They want money too for the other things, or they just like it and they want a different way to earn. But active collectors, how are they, or why are they spending so much of capital on collecting JPEGs, which might not get resold again, or it might just be there in their galleries? What makes them do that? Why are you interested, or why are they interested in collecting NFTs? Because this question also can be an answer to onboarding new non-crypto collectors.
I think every art purchase lies on a spectrum. On one hand, you have the art that you buy because you absolutely fall in love with the piece, you really connect with. It evokes a certain feeling or sentiment, and you just want to own it. And that's, I call them my forever pieces that I just would not sell. I just keep them there and that's it. Those pieces there, I love. These are from Ishita, Soul Curry Art. I love them so much. They are there. I don't think I'll ever sell them. On the opposite end of the spectrum, they are the purely financial investments. You buy them because you think the artist and the piece will appreciate in value over time. For those kind of decisions, for those kind of investments, it doesn't really matter what's in the JPEG. It's just an asset that you buy because you think it's going to appreciate. That's it. I think every purchase lies somewhat in the spectrum, in the middle, towards one end or towards the other end. Now, I do not agree that there are people that just buy because they like the art. Again, as you were saying earlier, there are always some economic consideration. but they might not necessarily look to resell it anytime soon. I have an hybrid approach. I will sell something if it goes up in price a lot, and I think that's helpful to. I think that helps the artist as well. I would love if my photos will be traded a lot, higher prices, obviously. It helps the artist. It appreciates the value. It appreciates the value of the artist and the art that they produce. Why do people buy? I think there is always an element of investment. Might be a very long-term investment. I generally believe that NFT digital art in the form of NFTs will be a fundamental large part of the traditional art world in 10 years time. And I would like to get to that point with a fantastic collection of digital art and be a patron of the digital arts. I don't have the capital that some of the other people in the space have that, can spend 100 grand on a piece like that on a weekly basis. I absolutely don't. Everything that I have, a lot of the stuff that I invested came from my trading last year. And I am actually overly invested into this space in a way that is a bit reckless. To be honest, I realize that. Again, as long as you have awareness of that is good, or it's okay. And I collect because I like the piece, and I think that the artist can do something can become, a lot bigger in the space. And that does not depend on the art itself. It depends on the artist. When a venture capital firm invests in a startup, especially when it's early stage, so the first 1, 2, 3 rounds, they invest in the product, sure, in what the company, in the vision, sure, but primarily they invest in the founders. They invest in the people that are taking the decisions day in, day out, and it's a sign of trust that they will be able to navigate what happens in the company. Now, for me, investing in an artist is very often the same. When I buy a piece, I invest in the artist as much as I invest in that particular piece. And understanding who the artist is and what they are thinking. There have been some pieces that I really loved that I admit I did not buy because I was not convinced that the artist was someone that can continue to grow. As a matter of fact, I saw them making some big mistakes, and when there have been, I might have told them or not, and if it doesn't change, then I can't get on board with that.
So what was this mistake? Because my question is, how do you evaluate the artist is going to keep growing?
Again, how do you evaluate the founder of a startup? I've made some investment in startups as well. How do you evaluate that a founder is good? You look at their background, the track record, you look at what they're doing, you look at what they say when you chat with them, and you decide. Like it's pricing, supply and demand, how they mint, where they mint. These are all important. Even how active they are on Twitter, who they engage with, what the other collectors are, etc., etc. These are all considerations that are important. Actually, the last one I think is quite important. If you have some big collectors, it's more important than if you don't. Right?
It's a catch-22, right? Getting collectors from more collectors. How the first collectors?
Of course, absolutely. But then again, I have created, so the point about the NFT Collectors Wiki is also that, the concept of social investing exists in a lot of assets, not yet it exists in NFTs, but more for PFP, not for art. Well, we need to bring it to the art world as well. If you see Poseidon or you see Cosimo or I don't know, 33 buying a piece, that is that's something that should make you look at the artist at least.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I think is important. So the collector of the week, we don't do it every week, I admit, but Kenshiro is a collector. He has picked some of the big winners very early on. I think he bought his first Arch on a Year piece at like 4 ETH, and now Arch on sells at 78 ETH.
Wow.
So when Ken buys something, I look at the artist. Absolutely. And this is how you develop your investment skills as well. It's yeah.
So could you say it is more consistency from the artist in what they're creating, what they're doing, what their activity is?
It's a number of things. It's the pricing. For instance, if you sell on different chains or on different platforms, do you have price consistency, for instance? And if not, is there a reason for that? If I see the same piece on Tezos and on ETH, I collect a lot on Tezos. I have 500-600 pieces on Tezos as well. If I see an artist as a sales,
we usually don't suggest to do that, minting the same piece 2 times.
Oh, no.
Copy minting.
Oh, no. The same piece, like you probably
similar.
Lose your reputation, but completely. Like that would be actually
exactly. That is a fraud.
You never sell another piece in your career. Like, just be clear. Yeah. But similar, like I'll tell you I have maybe in my portfolio of photos that I really like, I have now 15 photos that I really, really love. And they might have, I like black and white, very dramatic tones, but not all have, and reflections. That's just my choices. But they are not always like this. I do also have some slightly different photos. Maybe they are color photos. So if you mint different styles in different platforms, that's great. Or different chains, that's okay. And so you might understand if there is a pricing difference. Super rare, you put your best pieces and you sell it slightly higher than maybe other platform. That is fine. If you have the very similar style on one platform and another with very different pricing, it's a problem. It's a red flag.
So again, a caveat here. If it is done with additions, so the sum should total up to the piece on one of ones.
Yeah, to some extent, additions I don't love additions. A lot of the stuff I bought are additions because they are easier to buy. They're cheaper, so you buy it. But I think the jury is still out whether editions will retain more value than one-on-ones. I will definitely say that there are a lot of things. Even when you do editions, how many editions do you put out there?
Mm-hmm.
You put an edition of 10, an edition of 100, an edition of 1,000. And what pricing? I mean, if you do an edition of 1,000 for 0.001, what's the reason? What are you trying to achieve? Is there a strategy behind, or you're just trying random things? And it depends. All of these things, I think, they make up. They're all different elements. They make up your final assessment on a piece of art and an artist, whether you want to buy it or not.
So you have got this amazing website called NFT Collectors.wiki, which is a great wiki for all collectors here. There are about 150 collectors here. My question was, what are your qualification criteria for adding these collectors in this list?
So these started with a tweet where I asked who the most respected collectors in the NFT space were. And that tweet got really big. And I think we had over 1,000 different. I think we had about 700 replies in total, but every reply had like 5 to 10 names. So we had an incredible amount of names, which then we collated and we kind of squeezed down to the top 100 that we had that were mentioned more often, etc. The idea is, who are the collectors that are most respected by the community? Not necessarily the biggest one, but the people that the community respects. Why is that important? Because, as I said earlier, I think we wanted to make this also a tool for other collectors to see and to see and almost emulate and copy and see what they've come up, what they've bought most recently, etc. So it's important that the collector is not just someone that collects a lot, but is also someone that the community looks up to and respects. Because if you have a collector that is very big, very active, but they don't even have a Twitter account, it's a lot harder to just kind of copy their trades, because that person does not necessarily have that. They don't have that social engagement. Okay, let me put it like that. So these are collectors that have been chosen, and then what we have done, we've also looked at the size of their collection. There is no no fixed rule, but what's the size of the collection, what they have there, how often they purchase things, because obviously some artists would put their collectors there. But maybe that collector that they've indicated has bought, the last piece they bought was 2 months ago, and the piece before was 2 months before. So that's probably not enough for us to include it in this list. So it's how recent they bought, how consistent they are, how often they buy things, and what kind of things they buy, and in general, what kind of reputation they have in the market. And in a way, there is an element there with of how many followers they have. It's just kind of all important. And today, after that, how the process works is that there is a leave feedback at the top, send feedback at the very top. And so when you click there, you'll be able to recommend what artist. If you just click, it will ask you what you want to do, and it will ask you if you want to recommend an artist and leave us a message, and a collector. And then you do that, and we will regularly look at the suggestions and the nominations that we have there, and we'll decide whether to include someone or not.
Wonderful.
It's community driven, and some people have been very forceful in saying, "Oh no, you must include this," and I'm like, "Well, we don't. We don't have to." Again, it's the point of, we include if we think that is relevant. Some people might not be included for various reasons, and that's it. But we think this is a good list. And if there are other people, someone actually very recently offered to help with maybe adding a little bit. At the moment, this is primarily on ETH. We will expand to Tezos for sure, because again, I'm very active in the Tezos community. I love the Tezos community, and I think it's fair to add those people as well. And that's it. And for some collectors, this has become a little bit of a badge to be on this list.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved it. This was completely unexpected, and they started putting it on their.
Bio.
On their bio, and that's amazing.
And it is so detailed. You can directly go to their links from here
or
OpenSea.
And is ordered by the last. Last received, so you can see the last purchases that they've done, And I think it's nice. I think it's something that is useful if used properly.
That's so amazing. So you get your Twitter contacts and your OpenSea, what they have collected and across all Ethereum you can see in one place. This is an amazing resource.
Thank you.
And this is a tip for the audience. The best way to use this website is go through all the list, visit their OpenSea, go to the Twitter, and hit the bell icon on the Twitter. Suppose I go here and then hit the bell icon on the profile. I've already done for this. So you get notification and then you can engage with them.
Of course,
And,
of course. Isaac, yeah, that's an amazing meme. Isaac here is a fantastic collector and curator. Definitely someone to follow closely.
So what happens is, like as our guest was saying earlier, connect with the collectors, engage in conversations, share them tweets, art of other works. So I think you can get their attention by being the early respondents to their tweets. What do you think about that?
I think you need to do that. I think it's I think if you don't engage with someone, you will not get noticed. Now, you might still not get noticed if you engage, but it gives you at least an opportunity to get noticed. Otherwise, and also, add value for the community, add value to the community, right? That's it. That's all you have to do, non-stop, continuously. Try to become as useful as you can for everybody else, and I think it will pay. It will pay off. Well, that's what I've tried to do for the last year and a half.
Wow, amazing. Next question would be about your name. It's a very interesting name, Lord Truffington. How did that come to be? Is it your own name or is it something that you have created and chosen?
It's all made up. The Lord, there's two components. The Lord comes from an inside joke in my old company. My business partner used to call me a Lord because I always wore shirts, etc. And we registered the office lease, and he put me down as a Lord instead of Mister. So that's a Lord joke. And Truffington is a Briticized version of my Italian last name, let's say. So that's when it started. It's an account that I used to play poker. I used to play a lot of online poker, and that was my name back then, like year from 2020. And then I had this Twitter account which had like 200 followers. And when I studied NFTs, I made that my NFT account. I unfollowed everybody, and I just started from zero, basically beginning of last year. And
do you like truffles?
I like truffles, of course. And I built my brand around, talking about brands.
Truffles.
I built my brand around Lord Truffington. And so I go to NFT events, and I am Lord Truffington. I'm not my given name and last name. I was at a dinner very recently with a lot of art people and gallery directors and curators, and I introduced myself. There were some NFT people as well. I introduced myself as Lord Truffington, and people were like, "That's not your real name." I'm like, "What is it?" I'm like,
so you met the normies and called out your Web3 name.
No, I said I'm not going to disclose. I know it might be something difficult to understand, but in our space, in our NFT world, there is, I have a brand, and the brand is Lord Truffington, and so that's how I associate myself with. If I told you my name tomorrow, you will not remember, because this is true. You will not remember tomorrow the name I gave you, because you wouldn't be able to find me anywhere. So with Lord Truffington, you know that on any social media and any platform there is a Lord Truffington, and that's me. I'm not on TikTok, so not there yet.
Talking about truffles, I have always had truffle flavored cakes or something like that. I was seeing a video of how truffles are actually found. They are this black kind of things that dogs have to go and dig out of some ground.
Yeah.
And they are very expensive.
Incredibly expensive. Incredibly. They are very rare. Truffle. That's why my NFT spotlight is called Truffles, because finding a truffle is like a gem. It's like a treasure. Of course.
Exactly. So, have you had it? How does it taste, or is it on your bucket list?
Oh yeah. But truffles are especially from Italy. So yeah. They are from the northern. There is actually one town where there are a lot of truffles around, and that's the season where. Yeah. So I had a lot of truffles truffles with pasta, truffles on. You can have truffle infused oils and things like this, and pate, etc. But generally, it's heavy on pasta. Great.
How does it taste?
Amazing. I don't know how to describe it. It's.
Is it like a fruit? Is it like a mushroom?
Like a mushroom, but it's like a mushroom that gets grated, for instance, on top of pasta, and it's a very. It's a strong flavor, stronger than I think a mushroom probably. But it has it's not cooked. It doesn't have a consistency of something that is texturally a lot harder.
That's very interesting. I'll have to drive down to Italy or fly down to Italy to taste the Leonone, because I always recall truffles as a truffle cake. So chocolate, cocoa, truffles. All right. So, what is your topic for NFT London? What are you going to be talking
about? How to build a brand in the NFT space.
Let's go. And we just talked about brands.
About how to build a personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
So, I admit I have not done a lot on the preparation of my talk, but yeah, this weekend will be the time. It will be very interesting. I look forward to meeting. So you're coming?
Yes,
in person. So look forward to meeting you in person.
I had one question that was bothering me from 2 days: what to wear, because in Indian conference I had worn a kurta that is a traditional Indian wear I was comfortable in, but when I see videos of NFT London, they are NFT New York, they are all like informal clothes. So how is
so just so you know, I have 2 kurtas at home.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Because I went to a fantastic Indian wedding back then 10 years ago, and I bought them. I still have them. But it's it's as informal. I mean, you can come with flip-flops and shorts and t-shirts. Now, don't do that because it's November in London. It's very cold. But good if you wanted. It's incredibly informal and very, very informal.
So are you going to be...
Nobody actually really minds or cares what people wear.
Will you be putting on a blazer, or
you going to... Yes, but that's the Lord. The Lord always has...
Exactly.
So, but that's me. No, but it's very, very informal. So it doesn't matter.
Okay. What do you do for fun? So these are time for some rapid fire questions. What do you do for fun?
NFTs. I look at art. I find art NFTs I want to buy. That's my fun. I go out shooting a lot now. Like in the last few months, I go out shooting with my camera.
Yeah, you should mention shooting with camera. Otherwise, it's hunting and those kind of shooting. But yes, senior photos also with your Fiji camera on. You're going out to click somewhere. That was so cool. All right. So what are the things that you enjoy doing in London?
Well, apart from going out there and taking pictures, that London is a fantastic place for. I love going out to restaurants. I'm a big foodie. I love to try new food, every different type of cuisines, and London offers everything you want. So that's brilliant.
You said you're dangerously curious. So why dangerous? And then the next question.
I'm
Why?
very passionate about things, and I want to dive deep into those. And I always, it becomes a time sinkhole where I lose a lot of time learning about things and reading, and become passionate. And then I want to talk to everybody about what I'm learning and etc. It's as to say, curiosity killed the cat. So I hope it will not kill me, but I definitely am very, very curious. I love to learn.
So what are you currently curious about?
Photography, technical photography. So I'm reading a lot of photography, learning photography and editing, Photoshop editing. That's what I'm doing right now. Like in an obsessive way. I'm just watching video, doing courses, reading books. And then shooting and editing. So it's taking a lot of my time right now.
Wow. What's on your bucket list next?
Ooh. Who? I don't know. I would like to become a very good photographer. Like I would like to become a very good photographer. Yeah.
Name 3 people, living or dead, that you would like to have lunch with.
Ooh. Elon Musk, probably. I don't know. This is a difficult one. I don't have. I'm not starstruck. So I recognize that everybody is just a man, just a person. They have flaws. They might be famous for something, but they also have a million other flaws. Probably not someone from the past. Sam Harris. Sam Harris, the
podcaster,
neuroscience and scientist and podcaster. Definitely, probably Sam Harris would be top of my list before everybody else. So Elon Musk, Sam Harris. Third person, I don't know.
One more.
Let's go with maybe someone from the entertainment space.
Just somebody who you want to talk to, or have a good time, or
no. Actually, someone that is inspiring me. Maybe David Attenborough, the BBC, the
documentary
guru. He's actually quite old already, so that would be amazing.
And now the question.
I know that the life experiences that he has had, it blows your mind.
What question would you ask? One question that you would ask these 3.
Your secret in life.
Everyone,
what is your secret in life?
So this common question to everybody, or a different question to different person?
The 3 of them I would definitely ask. Was one question I would ask them and see. Everybody will tell you the first thing that they had that in their mind that is part of their narrative and part of what is important for them. So I'd like to hear that.
So what is your secret in life?
Always learn. Always learn. Always keep growing. You're never done. There is always something new to learn, and have the open-mindedness to actually embrace it and just learn something new. Keep growing.
What advice would you like to give your younger self? Say 20-year-old self.
everything will be fine. You will stress about the little things, and it's normal, but never lose sight of the fact that everything at the end will be fine. Believe in yourself. You'll do great.
Awesome. What is your favorite movie?
Oh, The Matrix. It's the one I've watched the most times in my whole life since whatever 1998 when it came out.
What is your favorite book?
Sapiens.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens.
absolutely amazing book. History of everything. Yeah.
Any social or charitable causes that are close to your heart?
Not one, not particularly. I admire and respect anything that works towards alleviating pain and suffering in people. So I would always go in that direction towards other things, more environmental or I don't know, animal welfare and things like this. I would prefer something that, so either children, again, or helping giving research or people that are sick.
All right. So Lord Truffington, thank you so much for coming on the show. Any final thoughts or words for our viewers, listeners?
No, I would just say please be helpful and supportive to each other. As I said earlier, we are all part of this community, and this community will live or die based on our individual actions, which together will actually make a difference. So always be nice and help the other person next to you.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for coming, giving us your time and sharing such amazing insights. And we'll definitely see you around. For the viewers, I'll be attaching all the links for reaching Lord Truffington, including that website that I shared in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to yet another episode. See you in the next one. And like always, what is a pizza without cheese? And what is your collection without a Tanmay NFT? So get one today and support the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.